a freaking IKEA chair. Hollywood is on strike. Everything is shut down. The only films being made now are from A24. Animation is moving ahead, but certain movies, for example, The Marvels and Dune Part 2, are on the bubble. If the strike continues past September, those movies may not release this year. And things were looking up because Barbie and Oppenheimer have ignited the box office in a huge way, which is exciting for everybody. But I think it's important that we look at the long-term big picture of all of this. So I'm going to bring up a tweet. No, excuse me. Wait.
What?
Nothing. I cut and paste the wrong thing. So let me bring this up real quickly here. Damn it. I don't. Okay. Hang on. I have to find this Instagram post. Just give me a minute. Alan Stahl.
Yeah, let's vamp a bit.
Huh?
Let's see. One Punch Man Tolkien fan. You can still do that with Christy Mayer. Even better, race swap KK with X-Ray Girl and put her in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. Could have done that.
I could have done that. All right, no, I found it. Yeah.
Imperfect says, Chris, hurry.
There. Here we go. Suspense. All right, here we go. I saw this, and this started, people are talking about this. Thoughts on the strike from Andrew Schultz. Okay. Andrew Schultz wrote this. I got to zoom in, right?
Yeah.
So you guys can see this better. Okay. Can you see what's on screen?
Barely. There you go.
Is that better? Okay, cool. This is Andrew Schultz on Instagram. And Andrew Schultz says, thoughts on the Hollywood strike. The real issue is that actors and writers want fair residual payments from the streamers. In order to define what is fair, the streamers will need to share how many people are actually watching their shows. And here lies the problem. Okay, number 2. This is 5 parts. Number 2, my suspicion is that the streamers are refusing to share the viewership numbers, not because they're being cheap, but because no one is watching. And revealing extremely low viewership would kill the stock price. So, number 3, if most of these streamers are losing money in an effort to gain market share, the only justification for their spending is their stock price being high. Once that stock price tanks with the real viewership numbers, the streamers will have to cut back on spending, which means 4, way less shows will be greenlit, and the budgets for those shows will be severely reduced, which means way less acting gigs and writing gigs. So essentially, if the actors and directors strike is successful by making the streamers release their real viewership, the strike will essentially force the streamers to hire less actors and directors. So they're striking themselves out of work. Just a hunch, though. Just a hunch. So there you have it. Alan, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think Robert Meyer Burnett even did a recent video on this as well. But there's a lot of truth to this. I think we heard that maybe that there's a war in the Producers Guild, or Producers Alliance, between the streamers and the studios. When your streamers are Netflix, Amazon, and Apple, you're in big trouble because they can ride out the wave. Their entertainment wing makes very little money compared to the real money they make, and so I think there might be a civil war going on within the Producers Guild soon because the studios, Disney, Warner Brothers, they need money. They need to start making some money. And, in terms of stock prices, they're already down. I mean, Warner Brothers, I believe, is at $14, and Disney is at an all-time low. So how much more money are you going to lose? How much are these gonna? How much more can it drop? So, at some point, everyone's just got to come clean. The authenticity is the key here. Just lay it out. Stop trying to hide. Stop trying to project a certain image. Just get to the truth of the matter, and then fix the problem. And that's been the problem with politics, with culture, is no one is willing to talk about the truth of things. And once you get to the truth, you can fix the problem. And until that happens, we're at a stalemate.
I think that applies to a lot of things, not just the strike.
Yeah,
Here's
politics the same way.
Yeah, politics, same thing. Here you go, from on Twitter. Can you see this? Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's just pictures. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Misha Da Vinci, who I follow, recommend. Hollywood is broken. Striking alone won't fix it. A whole new business model is required. A thread. I'm going to go through some of this. Hollywood is owned by massive media conglomerates. It's a business model that ruthlessly exploits the talent that is the lifeblood of the industry. You've got a whole bunch of logos here of corporations. Over the last decade, the bulk of TV moved from broadcast and cable to streaming. In the transition, writers, actors, and other creatives were methodically stripped of their rights and compensation. Misha goes on, writers have been battered by low residuals, a lack of streaming data information, job insecurity, and more. They are bringing in less money overall, despite a content boom of more shows and more platforms. And she reposts something from a woman named Valentina Garza with a residual check of 3 cents. I have gotten ones for like 12 cents, 20 cents, I think from being on Attack of the Show, actually. There's a bar in Burbank that you can go to. I forget the name of the bar. You can bring your residual check. If it's under $1, you just give it to them. They staple it to the wall and you get a free beer. So our wages have been falling in the last years as the streamers' profits have been skyrocketing. Writer Amanda Mercedes tells Today.com from an article. For actors, residuals have all but disappeared. Streaming services are not providing adequate residual payments to actors in successfully streamed shows, says Brian Cox. There's a video for reference. This tweet thread, Misha Da Vinci puts in the references to what she's talking about. We are fighting for the livelihood of working people. At some point, we have to say no, says SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher. Now add AI to the mix. You have a formula that extracts everything from the talent, giving nothing in return. Writers are fighting to ensure that AI does not degrade their craft. Studios could have fewer people in the writer's room with AI writing content that is later edited by a writer. They could use AI to draft a first draft and then bring in someone else to do a second draft. We've talked about that. One of the sticking points that forced the actor strike was this. The AMPTP wants to use AI to capture the likeness of actors, pay them a day rate, and then own and use that likeness forever. Yes, that is BS. I am on the actor's side on that point. You can't just license the right to an actor and just use it willy-nilly. They want to scan our image now and offer one-day wages, says Brandon J. Kermati. 1 day of work that is reused forever. It's a proposal straight out of Black Mirror, like that first episode of the new season. As AI advances, these problems will only intensify exponentially. The rights of creatives and talent will be destroyed altogether. What's needed is a whole new business model. I agree. Indie film might be that business model. It's time for writers, actors, editors, costume designers, set decorators, makeup artists, and everyone on a project to own what they create. Funding should come directly from sources that support the talent, not those that exploit them. Innovators have been experimenting with Web3, looking for ways to improve how Hollywood operates. Web3 allows projects to be funded directly by audiences, communities, and fans. Companies like Legion M and creatives can own what they create and benefit from their work in perpetuity. For example, I made this movie Attack of the Doc. I have licensed the rights to a distributor, Indie Rights, who owns the digital rights for 3 years. I own the movie forever. This is called independent film. It was not funded by a corporation. It was funded with the generous support of backers who then got a copy of the film. and I own the movie, along with other film partners who helped make the film. You know who you are. Steven Soderbergh has long been exploring better ways to fund his projects. In 2022, he teamed up with crypto-powered film fund Decentralized Pictures to launch a $300,000 grant on the blockchain film financing platform. Francis Ford Coppola has also joined the decentralized film movement with DCP Foundation. By the way, decentralized film movement, it's called independent film. Stoner Cats is a Mila Kunis animated series about a groovy elder woman and her 5 feline friends. It's a successful experiment in alternative financing using Web3 and NFTs. And look, I never knew Stoner Cats existed. In this episode, okay, she goes on and on. She's basically citing examples of people who've recreated the model, but it's a fancy new word for independent film. The model for independent film used to be this. The model used to be that you got financing independently or you funded it yourself. You made the independent film and then you sold it to a company. That's not the case now. Independent filmmakers don't need a distributor. You can go direct through self-distribution through companies like Film Hub and Indie Rights, among others. We must support the strikers, but let's not stop there. Let's embrace the technology and business model that provides the long-term solution that Hollywood needs. It's basically the model that used to be called United Artists. Alan, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think we talked about it at Comic-Con in our indie survival panel. Hollywood is no longer the goal. You know, if you're a filmmaker, you know, you've got to, you know, there are alternatives out there. It's going to be tougher. You're going to have to do a lot more selling. You're going to have to become a businessman. But Hollywood is not the goal. And, you know, when you latch yourself into Hollywood, they're going to own your work. They're going to call the shots. And if you're lucky, they'll promote your film. And, you know, and then, you know, I don't know. It's like the budgets of these movies have just become so inflated. And that's one thing that has led to this strike. You know, how does Elemental cost $250 million? Exactly. How do all these Marvel movies go into the $500 million range? And of course, when they see the money that the studios are spending, of course, the actors and writers are going to wonder, where's their cut? You know, if their film costs $300 million to make, how come they didn't make $100 million off of it? You know, and I think you're right. I think the studios, I think the producers are trying to raise Hollywood to the ground. You know, and I think as independent filmmakers, we need to see that coming and take advantage of that.
I agree. I've always said independent is the way to go. That is the very message of Film Threat for the last 38 years. Since 1985. We actually have a t-shirt that says since 1985.
Yeah.
Let me go to your comments and questions.
Let me just bring up Eric July. I mean,
sorry. Yeah,
he's talked about he's not going to sell ISOM to the studios,
but he could do an independent film, and you know, the whole thing is a collab. You collaborate and whatnot. I don't think corporations are capable of doing anything cheaply, but independent filmmakers know how to do it, because I believe independent filmmakers are much more responsible when it comes to capital allocation. That's all it is. How are you spending your money? And when it's your money or you're invested, it matters. And some interesting news that I just learned this morning is that the filmmakers, or the studio Angel Studios, it was on Tim Pool's show last night, which I didn't watch, but I saw the clip. Tim Pool suggested, hey, you should talk to Eric July, and Angel Studios like, oh, we'll talk to him. About doing a collaboration with Angel Studios, who did Sound of Freedom. They could work with Eric July to do an ISOM movie, an ISOM animated project. You need partners. I can't do Attack of the Doc by myself. I can't stuff every envelope, even though I've done most of it so far. Let's just say, look, I've people helping me. You know, filmmaking is a team sport. It's a team sport. And if you're going to do stuff, Yes, you should remain independent. You should own your content. At the same time, you need other partners. So you got to partner up with people.
Yeah, let me pull up Lawrence Gillespie's comment here. This is why the media is attacking Sound of Freedom. It's not about protecting pedos. It's that it was released by an independent distributor. I just got an email from Angel Studios saying that they have just increased the number of theaters that Sound of Freedom is playing in this weekend.
Here's what's going to be shocking. When award season comes along and this movie, it deserves to win awards. It deserves at least nominations. Yeah. It checks all the boxes. And people that don't champion this film, I question their judgment. I question their biases. So,
yeah. Well, man, look, if there is an award season, there's not going to be much there. And so Sound of Freedom could slip in. Yeah. And then I just got word that The Chosen season 4 just got SAG waivers. And so they're going to continue.
Oh, that's great.